men tend to overestimate sexual interest and women tend to underestimate sexual interest. We got that. We already know that that's true. Men also tend to overestimate a woman's body count, and women will underestimate or under deliver their body count as well. And there's a reason for that, because we understand, I think on some level of consciousness, women and men understand that they are less marketable, less available, less desirable. And there's some hesitancy about getting with a woman who's not a good bet for their own paternity, for men's paternity. So if it's a guy that they're just hooking up with, as she was just saying a minute ago, if it's a guy they're hooking up with, then they're like, well, who cares? But if it's a guy that's boyfriend material, as I've said in the past, women break rules for alphas and they make rules for betas. One of those rules for betas, don't ask me about my body count. In fact, by making a big deal out of it, you are declaring and telegraphing your position as a guy who is judgmental, and only guys who are judgmental and analytical about this, who would give a shit about a woman's body count and would then rate her and judge her and decide whether or not he was going to invest in her or not. Those guys are betas. Those guys, I don't want to have you. You're not secure in your masculinity. We'll find some other like social convention to sort of wipe it off on. But that's really where we go with that.
Solution, I don't think it would solve all the world's problems. I personally think I think communication is the solution. But if someone asked me, I disagree with what she said over there. If someone asked me what my body count is, I would tell them. I mean, if they react poorly to it, then I'm not going to hook up with them. I feel like that's a huge red flag, but I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I mean, I've done what I've done, and there's no point in like trying to hide that or pretend that it is something bad.
I think it'd be beneficial. I think that if people were to say, if they're just looking for somebody to hook up with, and they're like, oh, like you and me, we're the same, or if people were looking for somebody that's a little bit more stable and something more serious, they could like immediately tell that, and it would save a lot of time.
But like, I have a question. Can I follow up on that?
Of course.
So you went and said if you're looking to hook up. So like, I think maybe like, the body count versus someone who's looking to hook up is different. Because for example, you were saying, Chase, that you were a different person freshman year. Mm-hmm. So maybe your body count's like really high, but now you're a different person. So if you just went and had like that number on your forehead, they're going to perceive you or judge you based off of your past actions and not based off your actions today. So maybe that's like, obviously it would be really simple. It's kind of like if every girl and guy like got introduced and a guy knew, oh, she's into me because she said, oh, I'm into you. Why don't we like start that instead of maybe playing them? Obviously that would be really helpful for everyone. So is that kind of what you mean? Maybe the body count, or kind of like going and talking to him and saying, hey, are you just in it to hook up? Or do you actually maybe want to start something a little bit more serious?
I mean,
okay, women make a big deal out. Like, I understand what she's saying. I'm a different person now. I'm not the same. I'm 54. I'm not the same guy that I was when I was 24. So therefore, you should, forgive all that and forget all that, and don't think that I'm like that anymore. Don't think that I want to go bang hot chicks in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break. Don't think that. Again, it's different for guys than it is for women, because women have to like. I hate it. I hate this argument where guys have to say, well, women are selling purity. Not so much purity. They're selling potential. Like when we talk about men's potential, how women have to make a bet on men's potential, men have to make a bet on women's potential as well. The potential is I won't get cucked or I will get cucked. And that's the existential fear. When I talk about the existential fear for women is to like invest in a guy who she thinks is alpha, and later he turns out to be very beta. You're not the guy I thought you were, right? That sells TV shows. That's how basically what The Bachelor is based on is trying to figure out if this guy's really who he says he is. That's an existential fear of women, because the existential fear is that woman was not able to put her own like will into the sexual selection process. That's why prearranged marriages are so offensive to women, because it removes hypergamous control for the woman. That right there, and of course, in the most brutal sense, forced sexual copulation. I'll let you figure out what the real thing is. That's the reason why EPAR is a thing, and it's a violation. It's a defilement. It's the cardinal sin of all sins, right? Because it removes sexual selection in the hypergamous process for women. For men, the same thing happens when they get cucked, except for it's a lifetime sentence for the guy. And it might be a lifetime sentence for the girl if she gets pregnant, but it is a lifetime sentence for the guy if that woman is not faithful to him, if that woman is not a good bet for his paternity. He wants to know that the kid is his. He is losing his access to fucking other girls and possibly spreading his seed far and wide by parentally investing in that one girl. The only caveat to that compromise is the kid's got to be my kid. So therefore, if you had your body count tattooed on your forehead with or a digital LED, whatever, on your forehead, then that would be a way that a guy could determine whether or not you're a good bet for getting cuckolded or not getting cuckolded. And as I said, it's all like he made the case for like, what is it? Having 1,000 partners, having sex 1,000 times with one guy and having sex 1,000 times with 300 guys. That's a different situation. Because for a woman, it means that of those 300 guys, one of those guys, or probably several of those guys, are the dudes that rocked her world. And those are the benchmark. That's the metric by which she's going to judge you she's going to judge you. Women judge men all the time. No one has any problem whatsoever judging men because we expect it. Men understand that to be a man is to be judged. To be a man is to have your performance evaluated. It's a performance evaluation time. Oh, you're not living up. You're fat. You're a loser. You have no social skills. You're broke. We judge guys all the fucking time and nobody gives two shits about it. Imagine if I said, you shouldn't judge me just because I'm broke. You shouldn't judge me because I'm a fat fuck. You shouldn't judge me because I'm like, I can't, Quasimodo. I can't talk to girls. Don't judge me. You should love me anyways. You should not. I'm not that person anymore. Imagine that. But it's just done in a different, we're looking at it in a different context now. So men's existential fear is cuckoldry, really, because men don't want to invest in another man's child, because it's fundamental to our evolutionary firmware, or fundamentally conflicts with our evolutionary firmware. We want to be able to pass on our own DNA, and that anything else is a resource drag at that point. Now, I'm not saying that guys don't become stepfathers. I'm not saying that guys don't become adoptive fathers. I'm sure they do. But the reason why that's notable is because it goes against that. If that was the norm, then people are like, oh yeah, well, sure. Everybody does it. Right. But the reason why it's exceptional is because it goes against a biological imperative, an evolutionary imperative. And so when we don't want to judge women for their sexual escapades, because we look at them as potentially being the mother of our children, even if we're just getting together for a casual hookup. That is the proximate effect versus the ultimate effect. The proximate effect is I want to fuck this chick because I met her on Tinder and she's got a hot ass and I really want to get with it. The ultimate effect is maybe we have a relationship afterwards. It doesn't happen. Rarely. The churn marketing thing, we can get into that, but the reason what these girls don't fundamentally understand is that their existential fear, they think that their existential fear should overpower, should be more important than men's existential fear. But you're never going to hear this out of the mouth of babes here. So